Westworld Season 3 unfortunately came and went without a ton of fanfare, which of course is understandable considering all the things going on in the world right now. Overall, I'd say the third season was fine, probably the weakest for me personally, because of a lot of muddled up character motivations, important characters being sidelined, and the introduction of new characters who started off interesting, and then pretty much nothing of real weight came of them. The story felt confused and unfocused. Although there were some interesting themes and brilliant performances as always, I ultimately feel that the entire season just kind of felt inconsequential and almost served as a setup for the next season as opposed to a season of TV that could stand on its own as a good story. However, I wanted to talk today about something I really liked about this season, something that really caught my eye, and that was what I think the best episode of season 3. And one of my favorite episodes in the show, and that is episode 4, The Mother of Exiles. This is, in my opinion, by far the strongest episode in the season, and the reason I say that is because it accomplishes one goal that I think none of the other episodes were able to get right: balance. You see, Westworld has always been a very diverse show. It's a sci-fi, it's a western, it's sort of an intimate character piece, but also a sprawling epic, and sometimes it can all just feel confused within its own universe. Season 3 also has this issue where some episodes focus solely on one or two characters as we observe them going about their assignments. Some episodes are very deeply rooted in the show's primary themes, and some are more story-driven, sometimes to the point where you don't really know why you're following these characters. What 4 gets right is the perfect balance of all of these little things, so much so that you could almost watch it as a film of its own. The episode kicks off with a reintroduction to William, or the Man in Black. It spends 8 whole minutes just focusing on him and the questionable mental state that he's in, all before the beautiful titles come on. Before the episode has even really begun, we already get a nice bit of characterization, which by the way is mostly conveyed through visuals as opposed to dialogue, something the other episodes didn't do so well. Episode 4 was directed by Paul Cameron, who is one of the primary cinematographers on the show, and I think this is one of the most visually impressive and dynamic episodes in the series. There's a clear control and discipline behind the use of the camera, which I really like, but despite that it never feels distracting. This is one of those few episodes where we spend time with pretty much every major character. Bernard and Stubbs, Serac and Maeve, Dempsey and his crew, Dolores and Caleb, and of course Charlotte and Williams. Despite the episode being halfway through the season, I really feel like there's a ticking clock element to it. There's a sense of urgency with all the storylines converging at some point. This obviously wasn't the case in the grand scheme of things, unfortunately, but in the episode itself, everything felt stitched together well. The different storylines complemented each other as opposed to feeling alienated from each other. The progression of each part feels natural and also in tandem with the rhythm of the episode. That was a mouthful. Bernard and Stubbs are preparing to abduct Dempsey. Serac establishes his power and control on the world, sending Maeve on her first mission. Dolores and Caleb begin advancing their plan to manipulate and capture Dempsey, so it all really does build towards something. All of this stuff is story-driven, which is why William's chunk is so important in my opinion. It allows us to take a step back and also focus on the character aspect of the show. We've just been reintroduced to him and spent some time in his headspace, and so what we get as a result is this really great balance of smaller character moments and big-scale story-driven action. I also really love that despite the scattered nature of the episode, each scene actually does a great job of sending us into the next one nicely with some good transitions, but they also stand on their own as really intense or entertaining or sometimes a little comedic. Again, that balance is just there. I also have to say that out of all the episodes, this is the one where we get to see the future world and how it operates in the most diverse and interesting way. We see the wealthy, we see the gangs, we see the businesses, and for the first time since episode 1, it feels like we're in the future. I attribute this mostly to the brilliant production design, but also the absolutely incredible sense of atmosphere. All of this comes to a conclusion in what I think is the best scene in the entire season, the Wicked Game scene. Now, I call it the Wicked Game scene because Ramin Djawadi's cover of The Weeknd's song has now become my favorite piece of music from the entire season. And I have to say, I was quite disappointed we didn't get more of his iconic covers of modern songs this season. This sequence, I think, in the way it brings characters together, does a great job of combining the old school seasons 1 and 2 sensibilities of Westworld with the more pure sci-fi style that was established in the 3 episodes that came before. What also really works about the conclusion is that each character comes together and interacts in a really unexpected way. The first big twist of the season, of course, is that all the pearls are clones of Dolores. We have Bernard finding out Connors, William finding out Hale, and May finding out Musashi, which, by the way, is another brilliant way of pleasing fans of previous seasons and not completely disregarding what came before. It also probably has the best close-up fight scene in the entire season for the primary reason that it kind of makes sense within the context of the story and the characters. Certain characters don't just rock up with a samurai sword that I'm probably not sure they actually know how to use, and also you can actually see what's going on, as opposed to the really messy quick-cut editing style that doesn't really utilize the brilliant performances of both the actors and the stunt doubles that we see in later episodes. It's very simply done, and I like it. Although the logic of this whole Dolores twist can be debated, the effect that this twist has on the story is that it further connects what we might perceive as a fragmented set of plots, and the way that they intercut in between these conflicts furthers the connection even more, and it's just really, really fun to watch. So essentially what I'm trying to say, aside from the idea of balance, is that what makes episode 4 so great is that not only does it bring up the themes, not only does it further the characters and the story, it's also just really, really fun to watch. It's compelling. And that is in many ways something I felt was missing from season 3, and that when Westworld was at its best, it wasn't just pretentious philosophical arguments, it was also just good old-fashioned fun.